Hey, Mark's watching MTC Media here. Wrapping up Virginia's 65-56 win over Campbell last night. Obviously, a lot of the talk is going to be about Sanchez and a lot of what they did different and how Tony Bennett run things. And I hope that has an expiration date. The announcers, after a while, it was like beating a dead horse. I don't think anyone, including the industry, needs to apologize to Tony Bennett for the environment changing. It was a choice that Bennett made. I understand his choice. I understand him saying this isn't what he signed up for when he got into coaching and so on and so forth. But at some point, this has got to be about Virginia basketball and about these kids and these kids moving forward. So that's kind of hopefully by the time we get to the ACC season, we're looking at Virginia, the program. We're looking at Virginia, the product on the floor. We're looking at Virginia, the players that are playing for them, and quit with this this Tony Bennett obituary that keeps going on throughout this offseason and was going on quite a bit last night. So to get to the game, the first thing that shocked me was the starting lineup. Andrew Rhodey playing point guard with McNeely in the backcourt. Didn't expect for Rhodey to be that much of a point guard. We're going to get back to that. I can understand why they are trying that. It gives them such a big lineup. When you have Rhodey out there playing point with McNeely, and then you have T.J. Power, Elijah Saunders, and Blake Buchanan across that front line, it's like, well, you're coming out there with some physicality and with some body. If you watch my interview with Buchanan from a couple weeks ago, that young man has put on weight. And when I mean put on weight, I mean put on good weight, obviously, where he can be more physical. So they came out with the big lineup. We'll get back to that on how I would attack it. But what you saw offensively was some of the changes, and I talked about this in the pregame. There are things you could do that you could do slightly different. This was not going to be throw out the baby with the bathwater, which I don't understand why people always need to have extreme. Virginia played too much mover and blocker in this day and age. So now, people act like they need to have something that looks like Paul Westhead's 7 seconds or less, which wouldn't work either. But what you did see was you saw a lot of screen action that had Campbell guessing at the very beginning. Those wing ball screen actions. Was the guy going to roll? Was the guy going to fade? How were they going to play it? If you notice in the first half, Virginia got several 45 cuts because Campbell, you don't have it on film. And I'm sure they were trying to warn their players that some of the stuff on film probably wasn't going to be applicable with the coaching change. And you knew there would be slight changes. And Virginia got them with good, hard, decisive cuts at the beginning. And it certainly looked a little bit more like today's basketball. And then, obviously, the athleticism that Jacob Kofi, the freshman, brought, EYBL kid from the West Coast. And he gives them this athleticism, this three-point shooter who can also get to the front of the rim. And I know that sounds so simple, but that has not necessarily been present at Virginia. And Kofi gave him that all night. He hit some big threes. He was 7 for 8 from the field, 2 for 3 from the three-pointer with 6 rebounds. Now, he's not always going to have that sort of accuracy, but he did give them a boost and give them something that we hadn't seen. But the ball screens, the zoom actions, the 45 cuts, certainly was nice to see, and it's probably more attractive to some of the recruits that Virginia will be looking for in the future. Okay, the other thing that I saw offensively, I saw guys willing to be more decisive, getting 2 feet in the paint. Didn't seem quite as robotic. Guys were being, when they recognized that they had space that they could attack, or they got those shoulders and hips in front, They really went decisively there, and guys were redistributing themselves, being in the correct place to get the passes at the correct angles. And again, this is something that Virginia is going to have to do. I don't necessarily view this team as this great defensive team. They do have some switchable guys. When you talk about Saunders and Kofi will eventually get to being a switchable guy. You'll have those guys who will be switchable guys. Blake Buchanan can serve as a rim protector. You don't want him getting in foul trouble protecting the rim. And we saw Saunders foul out last night. And so there are some things defensively that will look different, and they'll probably give up more points. Campbell is a three-point shooting team. They made 11 threes. They attempted 29 threes, and they shot 38% from the floor. And this game is a 9-point game. If that percentage is more of 42, 43%, that score is probably different. So, for Campbell, it's not that far off. And the fact that Virginia also did not score in the last 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Well, didn't make a field goal. They scored, but didn't make a field goal in the last 3:09. Also is something that I'm sure that coaching staff will work on. Now, getting back to Rhodey and McNeely in your starting backcourt, and at times going down the stretch, they were the backcourt. And my thing is, either I'm attacking Rhodey with hard on-ball pressure. Doesn't have to be 94 feet. It could be at the 80-foot mark, or at half court, and I would attack him, not necessarily to get a steal, but to make him turn the ball over, which is not the same as a steal. Make him turn the ball over, or make Virginia get into their offense late, or get into their offense in a disjointed way. Or the other thing you can do as a coach is take Rhodey away, make McNeely bring the ball to the floor and be the primary ball handler, and you dog him. So when they get that first pass and they start to get into their actions, he has to find his action for him. Well, then how much time is left on the shot clock? Where are you offensively? Did you get into your actions cleanly? Now all those things come into play. Day Ames only played 10 minutes last night. I thought he would play more than 10 minutes. But he only played 10 minutes last night, was 0 for 1, had a couple points, had 2 rebounds and 1 assist. So those were kind of things that I would do. Rhodey had 4 turnovers last night. Saunders did too. But Rhodey had 4 turnovers last night. And that would be something I would attack. And I'm sure the Virginia coaches are smart enough to know that teams are going to take a look at that and say, hey, if they're going to have Rhodey and McNeely pinned together, especially going down the stretch, what can we do in a close game, or if you're behind, or wherever the case may be, to attack that and exploit that, right? So the 65-56 win, great start for Ron Sanchez. Certainly, if they lose this game, oh my gosh, I can't imagine the things that are said and written. So in that sense, I'm very, very happy for Ron Sanchez. I'm happy for these guys to get that first game out the way and for it to turn out in the win. But there are certain things that over the next 3 and 4 or 5 games, I want to see how teams, now that they've gotten a little bit of film on them, how they attack UVA's offense in this iteration of it. This is Marcus Washington, MTC Media.